Hey, good morning, my friends. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery, so I'm Mike behind the mic for what is this? Either the first full day of summer or the second day of summer. I don't know what time the summer solstice was, but it's been kind of warm, hasn't it? Certainly. Hey, Cliff. Good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Again, my name is Mike Avery. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, heard on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan. Always a pleasure to get here into the studio. Hey, Randy, good morning. How are you? Martin, nice to have you along with us as well. Who is this? Mike. Happy summer to you, my friend. And it's off to a warm start. Hey, Paul. How are you, buddy? Corey, good morning. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Mike. Good morning, Kevin. How are you? It's been a couple of weeks. We're up in White River on the motorcycle. That sounds like fun, Ross. Yeah, Bernie, where have you been? Hello, Brad. Always a pleasure. Jason, buddy. How's my fellow Trinity brother? Who's that? Bruce. Good morning, Bruce. Hey, a couple of things. Hey, Johnny. I saw Johnny. He's got his bear guiding license for the year. We should find out in about a week and a half now, about a week now, about our Michigan bear and elk tags. How was Walleye for Warriors, Ross? It was wonderful. Had an interesting situation though. I didn't fish. Some vets didn't show, and I didn't fish. Paul's going. I was there, Ross. I was the MC of the event, so it was wonderful. Paul is going hiking in Montana. Let's talk about a good bear pistol or a bear spray. Well, what's wrong with your what is it? Your long range rifle? Good morning. How are you, Trini? Jim checking in from Lake Erie. Paul, Paul. You should be the guy talking about such things. Thinking revolver though? What? 44 mag, something like that? So it is summertime. It has been warm. The fishing's been good. I fished Tuesday. I had a trip on Tuesday. We got 20 fish, which was actually a pretty good day. I think I did as well as most anybody out there that day. The bite had been pretty slow. I'm ready, Mark. I am ready. But first, I have a couple of bear hunts that I have to do. You'll be in Bay City Friday evening. Okay, Johnny, let's meet up. Johnny, let's meet up. I got that bow for you. I still haven't got together with your buddy and picked up my boards. That's between him and I. We're working on it. But I'd like to get you that bow. Friday evening should work just fine. Hey, Tim, I got a question for you. And all of my really smart friends on here this morning. Here's a math problem for you. I'm not good at math. Statistics show that bear spray is more effective. Oh, really? Cool, Mark. Thank you, Johnny. Just give me a heads up about what time and where to meet you. Okay, here's a math question for you, and it concerns my Angler Quest. When I fill my boat up, say it's got 42 gallons in it, the gas gauge shows 90%. So the gas gauge shows 90% with 42 gallons. How many gallons are there in the tank when the gas gauge shows 60%? So again, the gas tank is full with 42 gallons. The gas gauge shows 90%. How many gallons do I have in the tank when the gauge reads 60%? Da, 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 da. Hey, Mike, what is that green slime? Green slime I have not run into, but the cottonwoods are just terrible. The cotton has been just a pain, an absolute pain. Ross says 21. Can I trust you, Ross? Is that accurate? Again, the gas gauge reads 90% with 42 gallons. How many gallons are in the tank when it reads 60%? Ross says Ross says 21 and Kevin says less than 42. That's kind of that's kind of where my math skills are. All right, Tim, figure it out for me. You're the smartest guy on here. Ross says no, it's not right. Tim Binns, I am dubbing you the smartest person on behind the mic this morning. Dave says 28. To me, that seems pretty close. I will not rest until I get the official word from Tim Binns. Good morning, Brent. How are you, buddy? Tracy Joe says 28. Hey, Craig, how are you, buddy? Craig, my last 3 trips have been real good. Travis says 28.4. See, now I'm starting to think 28 might be the number. 28.4. That seems pretty accurate. When you start putting a decimal point in there, I'm thinking Brian says 20. Okay. Paul says more like 28. Brian says 25. Hunter Joe says 29.4. So what are you guys just taking a guess? There should be a mathematic equation that gives us an exact number. So far, I've got like 5 different numbers here. A different number now, 27. Morning, Judy. Good morning, Judy. How are you? Tim Binns, where are you? You're my official keeper of all such knowledge. The reason I ask is I've got a trip tomorrow morning and my gas gauge says 60%, but I'm not going very far. Paul says, giant bears walking all over Lupton. Hate to change the subject. I'm always ready to talk about bears, but I need to know how many gallons are in my gas tank for tomorrow morning because I'm not going to have time to run upstream and get gas. That's the only problem with the marina where I'm at. There is no gas dock. Where over at Linwood Beach, they've got a gas dock right there so you can fill up. Johnny says, send them up there. Send the big bears up there. Tim Binns, where are you? All right. So while I'm waiting for that, Tim Binns says 28. That's the number I'm going with. 28. Because Tim is the smartest man on here, smartest person on here this morning. 28 gallons. Okay. Couple of things. I had the opportunity last Saturday to see something very, very cool. I went to the state high school trap tournament. Hey, Gene, thanks for that picture. There were 60 high school teams there shooting trap. There were 1,000 young shooters there. They shot a total of 100,000 rounds on Saturday in Mason. And you know what? There was not one act of violence. There was not one shooting. There was not one attack. Yeah. Jim says, hey, Mike, what day is it? And Pat walked in here just in time for that. It's hump day. Yeah, Tim, when we run out of gas, my status changes. It will. If I run out of gas, you are no longer the smartest person on here this morning. Gene, are you confident that's my boat? Because it could be just any Angler Quest coming down the line, and you could tell me it's my boat, and I wouldn't know the difference. Johnny says when tracking a bear, he uses a shotgun with buckshot. You're not going to have to track my bear, Johnny. It was. So how can this be, right? How can this be? If guns are dangerous in the hands of people, especially young people, how can there be an event with 60 teams of more than 1,000 shooters shooting 100,000 rounds and nobody got hurt? There was no mass shooting. There was no mass violence. There were no attacks. So how can it be that guns are the problem? Because that one event proves to me, even to the most cynical or ignorant person, that it's not a gun problem. There were 1,000 guns there, 1,000 shooters. 100,000 rounds. And nobody got hurt. Yeah. Well, that's the thinking is, yeah. Yes. Gene says it is. I made sure it was your helm. It also had my name on the paperwork. Okay. Raber Bay said it's not the gun, it's the mentality. Exactly. It's the people using. Hey, Jim, good morning. Hey, Jim, you'd be an interesting person to chime in on this. I watched the Michigan High School State Trap Championship last weekend in Mason. There were 1,000 young shooters there, 60 teams from high schools across the state, and they shot 100,000 rounds. And there was no act of violence. There was no mass shooting. Nobody turned their gun on anybody. Right? So how can it be a gun problem? If you've got 1,000 kids and 100,000 rounds and nothing bad happened, nothing evil happened, no crimes were committed, it seems to me that even an idiot has to realize it's not a gun problem, it's a person problem. Very true, Mark. Very true. But it's also made its way into politics. Hey, Lori, how are you? Plus, it took 5 hours to build that helm. Gene, is that more than normal? Are you saying you took extra time on the helm of my boat? Yeah, that's a very good point, Jim. Yes. Those 1,000 kids were backed and supported and cheered on by probably 3,000 parents and grandparents. Good point, Jim. Good point. Ron says, amen. Kevin says, how dare they give access to that much ammo to teens? They're just asking for trouble. Baloney. Actually, a term a little stronger than baloney, but that's what I'll stick with right now. What else? Okay. I have been fishing. And I don't want to jinx myself, but as tough as the. Well, thank you, Gene. I appreciate that. I have a spy inside the Angler Quest plant. Well, yeah, that too, Johnny. There you go. The special cigar tube is the time consumer. Hey, Gene, did you line my cigar tube with cedar to make it a full-blown humidor? A pontoon with 4 tubes. I haven't heard anything about that one from Angler Quest yet. I have heard them think about, since the 300 horsepower motors are so hard to get, putting twin 150s on the outside tubes, which actually I think that's a pretty cool idea. I love having the idea of having a backup motor. If you're way offshore and something happens, although if you get bad gas. Well, thank you, Gene. Okay, so I've been fishing. I got a slow, rough start on this season where I was really struggling to get fish. My last 3 trips have been very good. I got 20 on Monday, which was as good as anybody, which was better than most people that I talked with, and as good as anybody out there that day that I talked with. I'm sure there were people who got more. I agree, Tim. Twins would make me feel safer too. Livonia Spree. What is that, John? What is the Livonia Spree? So, and I'm staying in the skinny water. I mean, I haven't traveled this last trip, I didn't go more than 3 miles from shore, from the mouth of the river. Craig, you know where I'm at, a little bit east of there. And Craig, I'm working on a day for you and Ed and your lovely spouses on that river cruise. Osprey is like, I don't know what that means. Osprey is like the Auburn first. Help me out, Jim. I'm not following that one. Taking the grandson bluegill fishing. Excellent. That sounds like fun. Oh, it's the celebration of the city becoming a city. Well, that sounds like fun. Spearfishing. Isn't that an interesting topic, Jim? I'm not going to try it because I don't. I don't think I could do it. But I found the comments on that post very interesting. Oh, they shouldn't be spearfishing walleye. They're going to kill all the big walleye. If you're worried about killing big walleye, then ban springtime fishing on the Detroit River. If you're truly worried about harvesting big walleye, it's not those less than 100 spear fishermen doing it. It's the hundreds of thousands of people taking big fish on the Detroit River in the springtime. So, if that's truly your concern, and I don't mean you, Jim, but if that's truly those people's concern, I mean, be honest, right? Good morning, Kevin. How are you? Kevin Coyote killing King Rock. Yeah. Yeah, no.
For some reason we're not able to fix this clock yet. I'm
Okay.
gonna call Justin in to do it, but it's 9:01, but this says 8:59. Do you want to go by the 9:01? I can use this clock, or do you want to, or
Which is
8:59?
easier for you?
Would that 2 minutes be okay?
Oh yeah, I don't
Okay,
care.
let's go
Whatever's
to
easier for you.
Let's go to
Okay.
8:59.
All right. Yep. No problem.
We got 6 minutes.
Especially since we don't have a podcast to worry about. We usually do a podcast after each show, but this month has 5 Wednesdays in it, so it actually worked out better for our Primal Tree Stands podcast people to wait and do it next week. So all I have to do is a radio show today and a Wednesday night live tonight, of course. Good morning, Dave. Nice to have you along with us. Oh, Jim says the spree is like I got you. The spree is like the Auburn Corn Fest. Okay, now perfect. Makes perfect sense, Jim. Thank you. Appreciate that. Did you folks hear about the tournament out of Au Gres last weekend? It was an MWT Michigan Walleye Tour, and it was another event. I think they were combined. They actually lost boats. It's no Big Water's no place to screw around. All right, Ross, and also Ross, we're sitting. I'm reading Johnny's post too. We're working on that trip with you and Emil and Jason. We got to get that coordinated. Ed said it was the MWC. There's Lori. She said it was the Masters Walleye Circuit. Lori's the one who told me about this. I didn't realize it. I would, Gene, but I'm too busy fishing out of the loaner boat that I have right now. So it was the MWC. Johnny says he's mowing M28 right now, and a bear just crossed in front of him. Hang on to it, Johnny. Hang on to it. There's a joke. Hey, Gene, make sure that this boat has the Tony step on it. You know, those little fold down steps on the side. So my short friend Tony can get to the rod holders. My prototype boat doesn't have them, and the short guys are having a heck of a time getting to the rods. They call me in when it's time to grab the rods on top of the rocket launcher. Brent, I still wish you were going to Ohio with us.
All right, Mike, we're gonna test right now. I'm just gonna put the microphone on. You can just talk in it.
Yep.
Doing a little something different.
A little something.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing a little something here with the audio check. We'll let the guys decide what they wanted. MWC, I thought it was 2 of them. It was the MWC and the MWT. Bear results come out July 5th, if I remember right, Ed. July 5th. Craig makes a good point. Since when do we really care about short guys? I mean, come on, they're short. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's a really good point. I recall having issues last year with what, Ed? Help me out. Oh, you'll have good. Well, I mean, I hope for your sake you get to go out west, but I also hope for my sake you're coming to Ohio. Rico, how are you, buddy? Smallies today, no walleyes to report. Rico, you're one of my heroes, man. You are one of the best urban fishermen I know of, and I love this concept of urban fisheries. Michigan is blessed with so many great urban fisheries. Hey, Tyler, how are you? Nice to have you along with us. Rico, I love it when you post your pictures. Keep sending them to me. Rod holder heights on my boat last year. Lori says, yes, the MWT joined the MWC for just that weekend. That's why I was confused. MWT is the Michigan Walleye Tour. MWC is the Masters Walleye Circuit. Masters Walleye Circuit, yes. Jim says a good friend of his, Jake Trombley, I know the name Jake. Why do I know the name Jake? Do I know him just from Walleye Fishing Circles, Jim, or do I know him from somewhere else? I mean, you probably wouldn't know, but maybe you do. Gene hasn't been on the Lake Huron in years. Well, your boats are out there, Gene. I can tell you that. And they're doing very well. Fishing friend. Oh, cool. Cool. Hey, listen, if you're just joining me, I don't need these on still. If you're just joining me, I want to go back to an earlier point. I was talking about the fact that last Saturday I was kayak fishing. My kayak fisherman, the Yak Master, is Dave Mull. And Dave is I got to post your picture too. Dave is very tough to get in touch with. Wednesday. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. And I remember now that you sent me a couple of pictures, and I do want to post those. I appreciate it when you send me those pictures. Walleye Semi-Pro, sponsored by Franks and Resinol. I don't know what Resinol is, but I know who Franks is. I know who Franks are. I know what Franks is. So yeah, July 5th is when the bear results and the elk tags come out. Huh. Anyway, I'll go back to an earlier point. I was in Mason last Saturday.
Okay.
I got my head sunburned when I was down in the Keys earlier, and it started to peel, and now it's created this weird mosaic pattern on my head. Not yet, Tim. I've been too busy fishing. I got to get the fishing out of my system before I can pick up that 350 and go shoot it. But it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, the state high school trap tournament, 1,000 shooters. They shot 100,000 rounds, and there was not one evil or bad thing that happened. 1 minute, Pat says. The award-winning radio journalist, Pat Johnston, who is at the controls this morning, fishing camo. Okay. I will tell you this, as far as fishing camo, Tyler Jordan, who is Bill Jordan's son, the guy behind Realtree, I asked him that very question about fishing camo, and he said it's a fashion statement. He said it's not actually a tool like hunting camo is. He says fishing camo is more showing you're part of a team, yada, 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 and you're making a statement. Even the guys at Realtree said fishing camo is not a real thing, but they make a lot of money on it, don't they? No, I did not fish in the Keys. I did not get with Matt Gay, but I have another guy on. 3, 2, 1, blast off. Ed, I did not get with Matt Gay, but I have another guy coming on who is going to talk about that state high school trap tournament. He's also the guy in charge of the one in Minnesota, which is exponentially larger than Michigan's. Hold on, a little behind the scenes. This is a behind the scenes thing you don't want to see, but you see it every week. And as long as the cottonwood is filling my sinuses, I will continue to do that. Although cottonwood's wrapping up. It's not nearly as bad on the bay as it was. Last week, you couldn't run a bait through the water for more than 10 minutes without getting weeded up with cottonwood. All right, my friends, have a great day. I'll see you tonight, 7 o'clock for Wednesday Night Live. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan here for 3 hours each week, talking about the history and tradition of the outdoors right here in this great state of Michigan. So what's new since we last talked? Well, it's now officially summertime, isn't it? Mother Nature has felt like it's been summertime for a while, and man, have we had some hot days. Oh, hot, miserable August-like days. And then 2 days later, it'll be 70 degrees. And then 2 days later, it'll be 95 degrees. The temperature roller coaster continues. The temperature roller coaster that is weather here in the great state of Michigan. The old saying, if you don't like the weather, stick around for a few minutes. It's certainly true. But it is officially summertime now, and all of the wonderful outdoor activities that brings to mind. It's time for you to get out there. It's time to get your family out there. It's time to get your grandkids out there. It's time to take advantage of this very short, wonderful season we know as summertime here in Michigan. Because I'll tell you, I mean, we're coming up on the 4th of July real soon now, and the summer is going to slip by. No, it's not going to slip by. It's going to scream by like a freight train, and before you know it, it's going to be September. Well, that's okay because we love the fall. But I'm telling you, if you don't take advantage of these opportunities now and get out and go on the camping trips and the drives up north and the fishing trips and the wonderful sightseeing excursions here in Michigan, when it gets to be February, you're going to look back and say, man, I wish we would have done that. I know fuel. Listen, I know gas is ridiculous. You know, I'm filling up a boat and a truck and it hurts every time I do it, but I refuse to let gas prices keep me off the water or keep me from doing what it is that I love to do. You just, you find ways to save that. For me, it's maybe smoking a few less cigars, right? But you find ways to make it happen. I did have something wonderful happen to me since we've last talked. It was actually last weekend. I was in Mason down by Lansing. I was there for the Michigan State High School trap shooting tournament. First time I'd ever been there. It's my first time being around these high school trap shooting teams. There were 60 teams there from across the state. There were 1,000 young shooters. They shot 100,000 rounds from trap stations. So think of this. You've got young people with guns, 1,000 young people with guns, a lot of ammunition. Like I said, they shot 100,000 rounds, and there was not one act of violence committed. There was not one crime. There was not one shooting. There was not one mass casualty event. How can that be? If guns are truly a problem, how can you have an event with 1,000 young shooters shooting 100,000 rounds of ammunition and nobody got hurt? It seems to me that even the most, I'll choose my term here. Even the least informed among us have to take a look at an event like that and say, you're right, Avery. It's not guns. It's people. Anyway, it was a wonderful event. And I thought it was just a great example of what a positive thing the shooting sports can be. There was 1,000 shooters there, but I bet you there were 3,000 parents, grandparents, supporters cheering these kids on. It was just it was a great event. We'll follow up on that after the break too. Like I said, I'm new to this whole world of high school trap shooting, but I'm very excited about it, and I want to get a little more involved in it at the local level as far as helping to sponsor my local team and promote it. I just think it's a great thing. And again, 1,000 young shooters, 100,000 rounds, and nothing bad happened. Think about that. To me, it just seems so obvious that it's not a gun problem. I have been out fishing. Been out fishing quite a bit lately, in fact, and doing pretty well. I got a real slow, I got to be honest, maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to say frustrating, but maybe a little bit of a disappointing start on the season this year. I just couldn't seem to get them dialed in. But I feel like that's starting to happen. I'm staying up in my skinny water, not too far offshore at all. Doing pretty good. In fact, the last trip out, it was one of my charity trips from my church's Trinity Monitor wild game auction. I auctioned off a couple of fishing trips there. By the way, people say, hey, how much does it cost to take a charter with you, Avery? I am a licensed charter captain, but I got that license just for the purpose of helping out charity auctions and fundraisers. So I don't do paid charters. If you want to fish with me, you can bid on a trip at one of these charity auctions across the state, and that'll help everybody out. But on this last trip, I had some good friends of mine from church out, and we actually got the biggest fish so far of the summer. It was wonderful. 27-inch fish in about 8 feet of water. And I got it on a good old-fashioned Hottentot. I know. For years and years, all we would run was Hottentots. Hottentot was the go-to bait for Saginaw Bay walleye. Over the years, people tend to get away from it. Now it's a flicker shad, flicker minnow, spoon, lead core type bite, or for a lot of people, crawlers. Still haven't picked up a crawler this year. Still haven't put a crawler on the Angler Quest yet. But I ran a 3/8 ounce purple and lime green or chartreuse Hottentot, 20 feet behind the inside offshore board. And that fish hit it and just about buried that board. And it was so much fun to watch my guests fight and land and pose with that fish. I put a picture of it up on my Facebook page and my Instagram feed as well, if you want to check it out. Couple of interesting things on that trip, though. Two things that kind of got my attention. Number one, I have a rule on my boat that you do not reach into a net with your bare hands to get a fish. That is a rule ever since I saw my dad put a treble hook from a J plug into his finger to the bone, and the fish was thrashing around as the hook was scraping against his finger bone. So I have a rule: you do not reach into a net with your hand. You can go in there with pliers if you want, or you can knock the fish out. I don't care. Well, somehow one of my anglers did reach into the net with his hand, and you know it, he got a hook in it. I mean, past the barb, in pretty deep. I saw it and it made me cringe. I thought, we're heading back into town, heading back into shore so he can go get that thing cut out. Well, he's a tough old farmer. And he looked at that thing and he grabbed a pair of pliers and he just pulled it out. Pat's cringing right now. That's pretty tough. I don't think I could do that. But again, just an observation. I don't care if it's salmon or walleye or any good sized fish, trout, any good sized fish. If you're going to keep that fish and he's thrashing around in the net, do not reach in there with your hand. I also saw a couple of other things that I don't routinely think about so much. But when you have people who aren't used to fishing, they tend to reel fish in a different way. Like a more experienced angler will hold the rod off to the side or up or down or left or right or whatever. An inexperienced angler, and I didn't catch this because there's a lot going on when I have a bunch of people in the boat, reeling, and it was a young girl. She's reeling this fish in. She's got a nice pike on it, and she's pretty much got the rod tip pointed at the fish. The bait, a flicker shad, number 7 flicker shad, comes out of the fish's mouth, comes up, and it hits her right in the face. I thought, oh, geez. Is it in her eye? Is it stuck in her? I mean, just because she's crying, of course, because she's scared. I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible. Fortunately, we had an eye doctor on the boat with us in case the worst was going to happen. But again, it didn't get her. It bounced off her face and it got tangled up in her hair. So what could have been a bad situation wasn't. And it was a great day and we got a lot of fish. But it got me thinking, I always wear sunglasses on the boat. I wear them because my eyes are light sensitive, but maybe it's not a bad idea when you're out there to always wear sunglasses anyway, in case a bait comes out of the water or out of a fish's mouth. Just a couple of things to keep in mind, right? Couple of things to keep in mind to prevent a really good day on the water from becoming a really bad day on the water. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show after the break, Josh Krols. He's the director of the Michigan High School Clay Target Association. He's going to talk about that event and high school trap shooting in general. Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In hour number 2, Dave Kimar talking about lake trout fishing in Lake Superior off Standard Rock. Casey Reitz of the DNR. And in hour number 3, Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle and wild game chef Dave Miner. So we've got a busy show coming up this week. I'm glad you're with us. My email address, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My website, mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Do not hesitate to reach out. Hey, Ron, how are you? Always a pleasure, buddy. I'm getting excited about coming up. Nor should I what, Ian? John, nor should I what? Nor should I what? I'm sure it was a comment I made, but I don't remember what. Anyway, Ron, when we get our Michigan Bear results, I'd like to get you on the radio show here because people will be looking for bear hunts. And of course, an option is to come up if you have openings. Will you make sure Pat? Will you make sure it's Kroll's?
You're doing pretty well. We just want to make sure. You might let me know how you pronounce your last name. Crails.
Crails.
Like Crayola.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
You just wanted to make sure.
Crails. All right, my friends, I've got to go. I've got to record this radio show. I'll be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. In the meantime, have a great day. Stay cool, and we'll talk to you then.